So moving on from there, I'm going to talk a bit about some other crazy stuff. Now, let me preface this by saying I like Geoff Keighley. I think I'm cool with Geoff Keighley. I've met Geoff Keighley. I've had the privilege of meeting him and talking with him a few times over the years. He's been nothing but nice to me. Same thing with a lot of other people in the industry who I've had the privilege or at least the opportunity to just talk with them, just randomly, whether it was at E3, at PAX, or some other event like Comic-Con or whatever else. You know, we've crossed paths at some point or another. So today, before I recorded this podcast, I see on Twitter and on social media that Geoff is actually trending. I'm like, what the hell happened to Geoff? Like, what did Geoff Keighley do? Because Geoff Keighley is the only Geoff that we all know in the industry. Like, when I see Geoff, I immediately think of Geoff Keighley. I'm like, maybe he's talking about something with the Game Awards. Maybe it's something else that whatever's going on. And I look on the trending page on Twitter and everybody's pissed at Geoff Keighley. I'm like, what the hell did I miss? I feel like I missed a whole episode or a season or something. Like, everybody's just mad at him. Like, what the hell did Geoff do? So I go to look at his tweets, and he's over here tweeting about some random piece of tech that uses AI to generate, like, scents from your games. And it's like, this is stupid. Like, I mean, I get it. He's, like, talking about some random thing that might be cutting edge or might be different or whatever. But this is weird. I even put a tweet below his tweet saying like, yeah, this is kind of weird, and I would rather not smell burning smoke or fire or anything like this, or napalm, God forbid, while I'm playing my video games. Coughing there because I'm talking so much. I would rather not smell that type of stuff, especially if I'm playing my games. Got me thinking, going crazy, that something's wrong with my setup. Like, God forbid, right? Because we all know, like, when you play a long time and all of a sudden you start to smell something like it's burning or something's getting toasty, you start to freak out like, oh my God, my console's burning to the ground. Or God forbid, the electrical outlet's going out or something crazy is happening. Like, you don't want that. Nobody wants that type of stuff. So I was looking at this and it's like, no, that's not really the only reason why he was trending there. And as stupid as that might actually have been, again, just showing the tweet just for context. Again, it's pretty stupid, whatever else. But I go scroll down and I look at everybody's tweets and everybody kind of like talking to him. And it's a lot more than that. You see, for whatever reason, at the time, before I really saw everything else, a lot of people were just mad at Geoff Keighley and really dogpiling him because they wanted him to talk about the layoffs that have been happening recently. Now, if you don't know, ever since like this past year's Game Awards, and I think the year before that, if I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of stuff that's been going on since then in between the different shows. And every once in a while, you'll get like these different waves of people on social media that want Geoff Keighley to speak on something. Like, again, in this case being the layoffs that have been happening so regularly. The other thing beforehand, which I believe was at this past Game Awards show, people wanted him to speak about the Israel and Palestine conflict. And again, however you feel about all these different issues, the point is that that was a show that was going on and people wanted him to speak on it. But I understood at the time watching the Game Awards why he necessarily wouldn't make a whole big deal about it, because he's trying to run an awards show. He's trying to sell a show. There's all these different companies that want the focus to be on the games and everything else, the awards, rather than everything else going on outside. And I got that. You don't have to agree with that, or agree with his approach, but there's an understanding there. Okay, because obviously he's doing this other stuff. He's not getting involved in the conversation with all this stuff. But in the past, in all fairness, if we're going to be honest and fair here, in the past, Geoff has gone on stage and talked about different things, including when all that stuff was happening in the industry at Ubisoft, at Activision, with some of those people getting let go and some of those people getting caught and exposed for doing some really messed up stuff. We all know what I'm talking about. I can't really say it on YouTube, but we all know what was happening back in the day. And a lot of that stuff was going on, and he finally got on stage during one of the shows and spoke about it. He had like a couple lines about it during his monologue, which everybody was applauding, and it is what it is. But lately, Geoff hasn't really been talking like that. The last couple shows, he's been very kind of quiet on a lot of these issues. And agree or disagree, you could feel whatever way, but that's what he's decided to do, okay? Unfortunately, we got some other random stuff that people are putting on here. But yeah. And he's been doing stuff like this. So a lot of people got upset at him for tweeting this out and actually not speaking about all this other stuff. But come to find out, really the big issue, I guess you could say, is the catalyst of all this, was this article by Kirk McKinnon. I hope I pronounced it. Kirk McKinnon. Or Kirk McKinnon. Yeah, I think it's McKinnon or like that. But either way, Kirk here, okay? Now, I should say, for context and full disclosure, I've come across Kirk in the past. We've actually played Destiny 2 together when the game first came out. We haven't really talked a whole lot. We haven't really had a lot of time conversing with each other than that context of that game. But I've had no problem with Kirk, and I've had no issue with Kirk, and I never really, might disagree with a couple things here and there, but nothing like crazy enough to be beef or to be nonsense or whatever else, okay? So with everything that I say now, I say as far as just being focused on the bigger conversation here and the bigger issue that I took, with all this stuff that's going on, which we'll get into in just a second, okay? So Kirk, for you all to see, he wrote an article on his website, okay, about Geoff Keighley, okay, specifically about Geoff Keighley, and it was titled, "The Games Industry Deserves a Better Spokesperson Than Geoff Keighley." And he put out this tweet, again, saying that he was annoyed, and he wanted to put this out there. And going to the article itself, so I could show you guys here, let me make sure that I can move myself around so you guys could see it. Okay, this entire article, okay, let me go to the top. There's the title and everything. It's from Video Games I.si or Sports Illustrated. He's basically pretty much doing an entire article, which I feel, after reading through it, is basically one jab after another at Geoff Keighley because he decided not to speak about some of the issues going on. Or in this case, really what Kirk focuses on is all the layoffs, okay? So PC Gamer created a visual chart where there's been 16,000 layoffs across the games industry, which is everybody. That's everything that's been happening so far. But the issue is that he's really kind of like taking Geoff to task or really dogpiling and harping on him because he feels like Geoff, because of his connections in the industry, because of his quote-unquote influence, that he should be taking the time to speak about things like this and make a statement and stuff. And I think that's unfair. After reading through his article and seeing everything in its context, the reason why I think that's unfair is because it's not Geoff's job to comment on everything going on within the industry, good or bad, whatever the case might be. Geoff Keighley runs multiple shows throughout the year. He runs the Game Awards, Summer Game Fest, and I think also Video Games Live or Games Live over at Gamescom, I believe it is. I think it's Gamescom over in Germany because that was one of the last shows I saw him hosting on stage. But he does like different shows like that. That's his job, to host these different events and get everybody excited and talking about video games, especially trying to push games into the general public, into the limelight, with pop culture and stuff. That's really his job. He's not here or not around to be commenting on every single issue that everybody feels passionate about. And sometimes, and we'll get into a couple tweets that mention this in just a bit, there's some times where I feel like people in the industry on all sides get too caught up on the echo chamber and get too caught up on the discourse that happens exclusively on Twitter most of the time, or really social media, but really Twitter in this case, where everybody just gets caught up on that and they don't seem to see everything else outside of it. Okay, they only see the echo chamber and the people that are talking about or feel the very same as they do, and they react or act in whatever way that they do. So with this article, going back to it, after reading through it, it just felt very mean-spirited because, again, you go through this stuff and it's like, he harps on his tweets, which is the one we took a look at before. He harps on other stuff about him hosting these shows and how he's always put into the limelight, into the spotlight, of the games industry. He mentions a little bit about Summer Game Fest and about how E3 has gone away, and all these other different things. So, quote from Kirk's article, all the big developers... Okay, whoops, let me go back a little further. Even writing this piece is a risk for me. With the death of E3, Geoff Keighley's Summer Game Fest has emerged as the only major competitor to Gamescom. All the big developers are there, all the preview opportunities, all the things I need as a journalist to do my job. In criticizing Keighley, I potentially jeopardizing my chances of ever being invited again. So Geoff, I ask you as someone else who loves this industry who could put your neck on the line in the same way. Or can you put your neck on the line, on the line in the same way? That burning in your nostril isn't the gamer scent, wake up and smell the napalm. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's honestly fair. Like, a lot of his criticisms going through it, I'm trying to find a really good one. Like here we go. Keighley has the largest microphone in the industry, but he refuses to do anything that could potentially jeopardize his bottom line. Sure, a tweet from Keighley wouldn't stop the games industry layoffs, but it would shine a light on the sorry state the industry is in, rather than pretending games are better than ever. Okay, he could be reposting job openings and signal boosting developers. As the most influential person in the industry, he could do something. And that's where I feel like that's not fair because, number one, you're not his boss to say what he should or should not be doing. Just like he's not the same thing towards you or anybody else should be doing that, okay? It's one thing to say that, like, if you were in that position, you would be doing that. But to kind of, like, judge a person, anybody, whether it's Geoff, me, Kirk, or anybody else, to judge them because you feel they should be doing something else, that's not right. And, again, it's not Geoff's job in the industry, okay, or in the games community to be that, Okay, a lot of people are constantly going to different personalities in places like Twitter or on YouTube and really trying to look at them as like specific figureheads for different issues or different topics or different parts of gaming. And while that's okay to be a fan of them, I feel like sometimes people take it a step way too far, because asking Geoff to be part of the conversation about something is not the same as what Kirk is doing here, at least in my personal opinion. What Kirk is doing here in this case with this article, it feels like he's jabbing at the dude and kind of like dogpiling on him, or causing people to dogpile on him because he feels that he's not doing what he needs to do with his platform. And it's like, it's not your platform, Kirk. Like, it's not anybody else's platform but Geoff's. And Geoff, I'm pretty sure, like, let's be all fair right here, okay? Let's be honest with ourselves. I'm pretty sure Geoff has some feelings about all the stuff that's been going on, with all the stuff with the layoffs or anything else outside of that. And I'm pretty sure he has like thoughts that maybe he wants to share, or maybe he could have shared at some point, or maybe he could actually be going around and giving some encouragement to people. But that's at Geoff's discretion. Like, he doesn't need to do that. Just like he doesn't need to host the Game Awards or any of these other events, or host any other stuff like what he did at E3. He doesn't need to do all that stuff, okay? Now, as far as his job and as far as what he does as a business, with the Game Awards or anything else, if he feels like he doesn't need to talk about that, or he doesn't want to talk about that at that time, who are we anywhere else to really comment on that? Or really to say like, no, you should be doing this because this, and this is happening. It feels like more that you want him to talk about stuff because of your specific group of people that are talking about stuff, rather than seeing what Geoff wants to talk about. And there's one big thing that could solve all of this, which I did not see in Kirk's article. I even went through this a couple times, like just to see what's up. And he talks about that he's spoken to Geoff in other instances, that he's talked with him. But the one thing that Kirk has not done in this article was reach out to Geoff for comment. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I went through this entire thing, try to see like if Geoff actually reached out. I mean, not Geoff, Kirk actually reached out to Geoff for comment or to get a statement or anything else like that. None of that is here. This is just an article that Kirk wrote up, and apparently wrote up because he was pissed off. Like, again, like, look, this is by his own words. Okay? He said that he woke up still annoyed, so here's why we deserve a better spokesperson than Geoff Keighley. This feels bitter. This feels unnecessary. This feels very like, almost like an attack on a person, or like a character assassination for the sake of just doing that, with no real kind of like instructive merit or any sort of like opportunity for everybody to really walk away with something, other than that you feel a certain way about Geoff Keighley, and this is why. And this is like, he should be doing this and he's not doing it. It's like, I don't understand the point of this. I don't understand the relevance of this. Like, it's one thing to ask him to be part of the conversation. It's another thing to take a jab at a person, which is what I feel this is doing. And all that could be easily solved if you would have just reached out to Geoff. Like, if this was that much of a big deal, right, with your feelings, okay, like, talking to Kirk or anybody else, if there was that much of a big deal, why not go to Geoff Keighley and ask like, hey, why don't you come on our podcast, and why don't you come over here, talk with me for a bit, because I'm writing an article about this stuff and I want to get your perspective because you haven't really talked about this. That would solve a lot of things. Now, in the interest of fairness, if Kirk did that and Geoff was like, nah, I'm good, or he didn't respond, then it is what it is. But I don't get any sort of like, thing from that based on the article that I read, let alone any of the tweets that I've seen from Kirk over the last like day. Okay, so again, like, I'm going through the replies. This is Kirk's original tweet. Going through the replies, and it seems just like a bunch of people just dogpiling on Geoff, like not even giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like, I understand you might not like the tweets that the guy is putting out there, but it's also his platform. And again, if he doesn't feel like talking about something, you're not going to force somebody to speak on something. This is a big problem with a lot of big issues, especially like really like, important issues that get talked about on Twitter. Because if you're talking about something, you're doing wrong. If you're not talking about something for whatever reason, good or bad, then you're doing wrong. And everybody judges you. And it's like, hold on a second. Like, can we like not like personally attack Geoff Keighley if he hasn't commented on something? If he hasn't really talked about something, or if he hasn't felt the need or the desire to speak on something? Because where was that same energy towards other people with other issues? You know what I mean? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just to be real with everybody, again, in the interest of fairness, some of these same people that are dogpiling on Geoff in these threads on Twitter are some of the same people that were mad quiet when stuff went down with the IGDA and Jennifer Schruel a while back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go around and look around about it, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Some of those same people will be mad quiet, suspiciously, about an issue like that, but are willing to jump on Geoff Keighley for something like this. It's like, come on now. Come on now. Like, are we really going to do this to somebody, whether it's Geoff or anybody else? To me, the way that I look at all this, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair, to Geoff or to anybody else. It just doesn't seem right. Now, when I go through some of the other tweets and stuff here, like I looked at some of the quote tweets and I see a couple other people in the industry. A lot of people are really just like agreeing with Kirk and like really, again, just dogpiling on Geoff Keighley, it seems like. But then you got a couple others that take a different position, and some of them have been catching flack for it. So here's one with Nick Calandra, okay? Do people genuinely think Geoff is a spokesperson for the industry? Legitimately asking because outside of the Game Awards, he doesn't really provide his thoughts in any form on the industry anymore. We see him twice a year as a host at Gamescom and TGA. That's it. And then he follows up, by the way, over in this tweet here, which I'll show you guys. Geoff Keighley saying something would literally change nothing. The fact people are trying to dogpile him for not saying something is stupid and performative outrage. Be mad at the corporate companies putting profit over people. Keighley can't change a thing about that, which is 100% true. Okay? And I seen a couple other people, and I saw this original tweet, by the way, that Nick is actually screenshotting. He didn't put the person there, but I know who it is. And he's 100% right. And even like looking at some of the responses, like some people are disagreeing with him or coming at him. I saw a couple other like quote tweets just taking a jab at Nick. And I was like, this is so unnecessary because he's right. Like, who is anybody right now that is not Geoff Keighley's boss, that doesn't pay his paychecks to tell him what he should or should not be talking about on his platform? And you can say that about anybody. But like this whole idea of like figureheads or people putting this like weight on people because they feel like they should be speaking on what they want to hear about is not right. It's not fair. I mean, going back to some of these other tweets and these quote tweets, there's a couple others in here. Another one by Destin Legary. Okay. Destin goes, I think Geoff Keighley's tweet about the smell device was terribly timed and the layoffs are awful, which is both true. But I also think we need to stop demanding people tweet or act in a way that Twitter has deemed to be correct. Kirk has a piece about Geoff Keighley for context. Yeah, it's just highlighting the stuff that was already put out there. But yeah, Destin is right. Destin is 100% right. It really comes down to just some people feel a personal way about this stuff. And because they're mad that Geoff hasn't talked about this or said or echoed some of the same things that they feel, that's why they're doing this. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. I don't think Geoff has really done anything to deserve that. You could like or dislike Geoff Keighley. You could like or dislike the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest or anything else that he's done up to this point. Again, over the 10, 20 years that he's been part of the industry, he's been around a long time. In all fairness. But the point is like you could disagree with whatever it is that he does or you not like whatever it is that he does. But we all can like come to some sort of consensus like this is a little unnecessary to be throwing at him like that or to be putting on him like that. Because you could say the same thing about any other person that you look at as a figurehead within the industry. As someone that might be a YouTuber, a content creator, streamer, a PR person, somebody with a large social media file, whatever, influencer, whatever you want to call it and stuff. I just don't think like this is necessary. I just don't think that it's right. I don't think that it really does anything. Dogpiling on Geoff Keighley is not going to solve the issue of all these different stuff, these layoffs that are happening at all these companies. If people are really passionate about that, I think that it's much more better use of energy and better use of rage to not only assist the people that are losing their jobs, which is like probably should be at the forefront of people's minds, but also taking the task, the companies that are doing this stuff and really trying to get to the root issue of why this is happening. If you're mad about the PlayStation layoffs, go take that up with PlayStation. If you're mad about the EA layoffs, go take it up with EA. Like, I don't see what the problem is. Don't buy their games, at some point, which, again, does have an adverse effect because you might be causing more damage and stuff. But the point is like you could do something a little bit better and more productive to remedy a lot of these issues or make things a little bit better than dogpiling on Geoff Keighley for not talking about something. Again, read the article from Kirk. If you want to, here's again the actual article so you guys can see it. It's over on Video Games at Sports Illustrated, but it's also on his on his Twitter. You could actually go find it. Judge for yourself. I encourage you to check it out yourself and actually come to your own conclusion, besides what you might hear from me or anybody else, because I feel like there's a lot of like layers to this and a lot of different things that are going on that I feel like are just, again, like pretty wild. It's like, look, even like some of this stuff, like look at this, like some of these tweets, of people just sharing stuff of just jabbing at Geoff Keighley outside of the ones I just showed you. But like other stuff saying that they agree with the article and just taking a jab at Geoff or just dumping on his name and like, again, character assassinating him. It makes no sense to me. It is absolutely unnecessary and stupid. But I digress, though. Those are just my thoughts on the whole ordeal. I know it's very complex and it's a lot of stuff. But let me know some of your thoughts about all this down below in the comments section. Do you agree or disagree with me? Do you agree with anything that was said in the article if you've gotten a chance to read it, or what anybody else has been saying on social media? Tell me about that stuff down below in the comments section.